Hi everyone, Dex here from A2K, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar, Elevate Your Revit Projects with ID8 Software. We'll have Letitia from A2K assisting and Sash from ID8 presenting for us. So first we'll just go through about A2K yourselves, all about fostering innovation through consulting and training. A2K Technologies plays a vital role in helping the infrastructure, building, mining, construction, architecture, and manufacturing industries reach their full potential by delivering complete technology solutions and support services such as education, consulting, and IT managed services. We're working with visionaries to shape the future of design and in turn enable them through innovation to minimize risks, improve productivities, and achieve excellence. A2K Technologies is considered the business partner of choice and trusted advisor by vendors and clients. We partner with major software and hardware vendors to meet our clients' technology needs. We strive to exceed client expectations by understanding the challenges and delivering solutions through experience and innovation. We work with clients and companies of any size, nationally and abroad. Over to you, Sash.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And welcome everybody to today's presentation on ID8 software. And the reason why we're doing this with A2K is we're here to help you simplify your Revit data challenges. So today I'll be presenting on 5 of our software solutions. And the goal of these solutions is to help everyone say goodbye to the laborious data editing, viewing, and management tasks. So just a little about me before we get into the presentation. My name is Sash Kazimidijad. I'm the Customer Success Manager for ID8 Software, and I'm located in Portland, Oregon in the United States on the West Coast. My background is in architecture. I'm licensed in the state of California. Been with ID8 now for over 7 years, helping customers solve their data editing, management, and other solutions as well. And my background mostly focuses on the Revit architecture side of things, but also have done some CAD work in the past as well. So one thing about ID8 software in terms of getting you access to information and help, we have a lot of information on our website. So I definitely encourage people to hop on our website at some point, check out all the help information that we have, our educational videos, live classes, and so forth. We also do have a lot of technical support. So I help out with technical support. Even our director of software development helps out as well. So we will always get you the support and information that you need. We do follow the Autodesk development cycle. So whenever we come out with new products or updates to existing products, we will develop on the current version of Revit plus the 3 prior versions as well. So currently we're in the 2021 cycle. We do have earlier versions of our software available on our website. In terms of any sort of updates to the software, those don't happen to the earlier versions, just the 2018 through the 2021 at this point in time. Like most of our software, we do try to give customers substantial content for getting started. So if you are about to embark on some sort of data editing, some sort of data management or review tasks, check out the sample content that's inside of our software because it's a great point to get you started. And also our sample content that you can play around with, especially if you're new to our software, it's a great place to begin. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just talk a little bit about ID8 BIMLink, and then I'll get into a demonstration. So ID8 BIMLink is the first product, and with ID8 BIMLink, what we allow you to do is use the software to gather a large amount of your Revit model data and push it out to Excel. You can edit that data in Excel if you want to and bring it back in, or you can use it elsewhere. The reason why we chose Excel is it has great editing tools. There's a lot of great copy and paste and fill down. You have a lot of options to concatenate your data, which is one of my favorite things to do. Also find and replace, and also translate to other languages. So if you do need to take any of your information out to Excel and then you can run it through an online translator, this is a great product to do that. We also have some automation options as well. In addition to data editing, we can also create a lot of content. So if you need to create unplaced sheets or rooms or spaces, you can do that. You can create key schedule and revision sequences if you want to. We can generate new levels. We can also generate new types as well. So if you have any existing families and you want to generate more types, you can certainly do that. We can do views and also create placed views and viewports as well. And also, if you have any furniture or systems or plantings or any information of the sorts, you can also place some of that as well. So the program is very universal in terms of what it can do. As I mentioned before, we ship our products with a lot of pre-configured information. And so BIMLink does ship with a lot of pre-configured links. So if you're ready to take some data out to Excel, but you're not quite sure where to start, have a look at some of our pre-configured links, and they'll be good starting points. And you can add or remove data as you see fit. So without further ado, I'm just going to dive right into this. And again, we're going to cover 5 products in a short amount of time. So if I do go a little fast, I apologize. The good news is there will be a recording available from A2K. And of course, you can reach out to A2K or to me if you have any additional questions. We're here to help out. So all of our software can be found under the Ideate Software tab, and here happen to be the 5 products that we offer. So we have BIMLink, Explore, Sticky, and Style Manager is kind of the 4 core products, and then Ideate Apps, which is composed or comprised of 9 separate smaller applications that are really targeted to handle specific workflows. So I'm going to go ahead and launch BIMLink. And the way the BIMLink interface works is that on the left-hand side, we have kind of a template for you to access data. So in its natural form, if you want to learn how to do a few things with a BIMLink, you can click on any one of these links here, and it'll take you to more information. The nice thing is you can actually customize this information company-wide. So if you want to have your own company's heading in there, you can, and links to maybe some of your own content. You can absolutely customize that. And this information is listed right here. So if you want to learn more about it, you can certainly do so. Whenever you create links, and I think of those as schedules, they will be saved within the Revit model and they're easily accessible here. And I try to remind people if you're doing QA, QC related tasks or any sort of other tasks, you can actually set these up in your Revit templates if you want to. And so when people start new projects using those templates, these links will be ready to go. And they're really helpful, especially if they are customized. And these can be exported out to your server so that people can load up these templates later on if they want to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on New here. And so when you click on New, it's a pretty simple layout. At the top of the level here are all of our samples, and we've kind of broken them down where you have tasks that are kind of beyond just schedules, and then also by discipline. So if you're an architect, we have some links that are pre-configured specifically for architects. If you're on the construction side of things, we certainly have those. And then we kind of broke up the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and structural links as their own kind of folders as well. What I always try to encourage people to do is to start at the top of the folder and put a checkbox right in here. And the reason why is we give you a nice list of all the links that we have pre-configured for BIMLink. And this is probably a short list of what BIMLink is actually capable of doing. But if you have a look at this list, it's really nice because it actually can give you an idea as to what this software is actually capable of doing. So the first thing I'm going to do over here, and I'm actually using a mechanical file as this kind of first example. Actually, what I'm going to do is switch over to a different file. So let me come over here and go back to BIMLink. I'm going to use this mechanical model as kind of the first demo here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just type in the word mechanical. And when I type in just even part of the word here, these are the pre-configured links that come up for mechanical. And what I'm interested in doing is having a look at my mechanical types. And this link is set up so you can basically edit some basic information within mechanical equipment. And you can add or remove parameters as you see fit. And for today's exercise, we're going to be editing that is type-based data. So I'm going to select next over here. And this link right here is set up just for these particular fields. At any point in time, you can have a look at just project parameters if you want to add or remove some of those. You can look at family-based parameters and add those if you want to, or you can just look at even system parameters as well. And of course, you can search on parameter data if you want to. So for example, maybe I want to add the Omni class information to this. So if you are interested in adding, say, the Omni class number and title, we can add that information if we want to. Now, in this case, it's not editable, but nonetheless, it's viewable. I always like to tell people that information that is listed in white is editable, and everything in gray is either read-only or is not applicable to the type of link that I'm editing. It just depends on the way the data is structured and what is allowed and what is not allowed by Revit. So what I'm going to do to get this thing started is I'm going to hit done over here, and I'm going to export this data out to Excel. And I already have it kind of set up in this folder here, so I'll go ahead and save it out. You can see how fast it just does the export. And right from here, I'm going to open the Excel file. All right, and here it is. So as I mentioned before, everything in white is editable, and everything in gray is either read-only or not allowed to be edited. So for example, the element ID number here in the left column is not allowed to be edited. That's a Revit limitation, and for very good reasons. Now, everything beyond the data that you see, so for example, kind of in this area over here, you're free to do whatever you want in here. You can put some notes off to the side. It really doesn't matter. BIMLink will not review any of this data upon importing. So we're only going to look at information between columns A and H. So my goal today is to give each one of these mechanical equipment elements over here some new type marks. So what I'm going to do here is, just to keep it really simple, I'm going to call this like ME-1 for mechanical equipment 1, and I'll just fill this down. You can see here, because the filling down, it allows me to, it actually auto increments the numbers for me based on how Excel works. But my goal also is to give this a manufacturer as well. So I'm just going to make up a manufacturer here. I'm going to call this mechanical company. All right, some generic manufacturer here. And then for the model, maybe what I'll say here is, input model later. Maybe just as a reminder to input this model information later on. Maybe we're not quite exactly sure what the model is. Maybe we know the manufacturer, but maybe we want to come back and edit this later on. Now, what I'm also going to do here, just to show you something else, is I'm going to change the naming of all my mechanical equipment families while I'm here. And I can do this in other links if I want to, but since I'm in here and this is editable, I can change it right in this location as well. So off to the side, what I'm going to do is use a really simple Excel formula. I'm going to have a rule here for my company that says all my families that are used in my projects shall be uppercased. So I'm going to put the word upper in here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put a number in here. And I believe you guys use unit class where you're at. So I believe 65 is the correct number. And if I'm not right, no big deal. We could always change this later on. But I'm going to put a 65 with an underbar in front of the family name. And then I'm going to use an ampersand here for concatenate. And I'm going to use this family name right here as part of the name. And then I'm going to do another concatenate, and I'm going to put my company's name in here. My company's name is going to be MEP Design. So I'll put an underbar MEP Design. And as a matter of fact, take a look at this. I don't even have to make it uppercase, because you're going to see what the formula is going to do here in just a moment. So there it is. Let me just zoom in on it for you real quickly. It's going to put a 65 with an underscore in front of it, and it's going to use the existing family name here and then add MEP Design, which is my company's name. And when I hit enter, you can see what that family name is going to look like. All I need to do is simply fill it down, and then I will copy this to the clipboard. And in this case, for the family name, I'm going to paste the resulting values. And you can see right here, that's what the family name is going to look like. Now that I'm done, I'll save this and close this out. Actually, just close this out because I have another Excel file open I'm going to show you later. And before I import it, let me just come down here to mechanical equipment. I'll just come down to the families just so you can see them kind of in their natural state as they are right now. You can see right here, this is kind of what they look like. And so I'll come back to BIMLink, and I'm going to hit import. And I'm going to pick this mechanical equipment types. And it's going to take a moment because Revit needs to do a little bit of thinking over here, but it should go pretty fast. And it's just about done here, just waiting on Revit to think about what it wants to do with this data. There we go. Okay, and so we give you a good feedback loop over here as well. So the nice thing is we'll show you everything in that's been changed, which is in yellow, and everything that hasn't been changed. And again, white is editable, but in this case hasn't been changed, and gray is not editable. And you can also review line by line all of the parameter values that have been changed. Keep an eye out over here when I hit import. And there you have it. So these families right here, just using the mechanical equipment, allow me to rename them. We have other links just to rename families across the board. Now, I didn't rename the types. I didn't rename in the individual types. I just renamed the family name. But if you look over here, you can see I have a type mark assigned here I have the manufacturer and the input model information. And as I come down here and kind of expand each one of these, you can see that each one of these type marks has been changed, and so is the manufacturer. Now, as I mentioned before, BIMLink's a great product to help you edit your data, right? Well, we have other workflows here as well. So actually, when you install BIMLink, we do give you some content to start with, as I mentioned before. Well, in this case, we have a quantity takeoff Excel file. And this quantity takeoff Excel file has some raw data from the model. And in this case, it gives you some of the phase information, design option, type mark, etc. And then this tab over here uses pivot tables to summarize this data. So in this case, we're really trying to get a quantity takeoff. So let me show you how BIMLink can be used in this case to actually just dump data out and kind of update my this pivot table with the latest model data. So I'll close this one out. I'm going to come back to BIMLink. And when I launch BIMLink over here, I'm going to go to New. And under my construction links, I'm going to look for this QTO. And this one is designed to work with that Excel file. If you want to add or remove columns from the Excel file, you would also add or remove them from this QTO. And I'm just going to go to Next over here. So this one will take just a moment. And so in this case, what we're doing here is we're literally interested maybe in editing or exporting out 18,897 elements based on all these categories. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to uncheck all of these. Maybe what I'm interested in doing today is exporting out maybe ducts and mechanical equipment. So what I'm going to do is just do a search for ducts. And I need to do that right there. And so let me try this again. So I'll do ducts. So let's see here. We'll just do the fittings. Okay, you can see we have that many. And then I'm also going to do let's do the mechanical equipment again. So I'll also do mechanical equipment. So in this case, I have 5,050 elements that I just want to do a QTO on. And here happen to be all the properties. They're just read only, but I want to dump this out to that Excel file. So now that I have this taken care of, I'm going to export this out. And you would think when I select this Excel file that I'll be overwriting it, but in this case, I'm not. When I hit the Save button over here, I'm going to overwrite that first spreadsheet in there, which was called QTO. And I'm going to overwrite it with the latest data. So it's going to take just a moment, but I'm going to export out 5,050 rows of data, and it's going to replace the first worksheet tab inside of there. And then that second worksheet tab is going to update based on the latest model data. And this should be ready to open here right now. And keep an eye on it. When this file opens, you can see now it shows me the duct fittings and the mechanical equipment, and it gives me a summary of that information. So in this case, here was the raw data, and here was a summary. So again, BIMLink's a great product for editing a whole bunch of your Revit model data and also for reviewing your model data. And just real quickly, we also do have links here to check on health and project standards and also quality control. So if you get a chance, have a look at BIMLink. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next product over here, and that's Ideate Explorer. So Ideate Explorer is a phenomenal model exploration and auditing tool that gives you quick access to your Revit model data. So I like to say that Ideate Explorer is a true model browser in that we can literally list all placed elements that are in your model. Trying to find that information through the project browser is near impossible. In addition to that, you could take a large selection of your Revit model elements, select them all kind of en masse, and then filter them down based on certain parameters. Are they in-place families? Who created or last updated those elements? Are they pinned? What level are they referenced to? That's where query comes in really, really handy. And in addition to that, if you're struggling to manage your Revit warnings, have a look at Ideate Explorer. We have a whole interface that lists all the Revit warnings and even allows you as a company to rank your warnings by severity. It's really easy to select your elements based on warnings as well. And so without further ado, I'm just going to get right into the Ideate Explorer demo as well. So in this case over here, I'm going to move over to a different model. And this happens to be a smaller model. And the reason why I like to use this particular project is there's all sorts of issues with this file. And so let's go ahead and launch Ideate Explorer over here. So when you first launch Explorer for the first time, we show you an element listing by category for the active view. And I'll just kind of move this over to this side here and maybe stretch this out just a little bit. But you can see there's 4,637 elements in this particular view. If I go to entire project, then we can get a listing of the entire project on a categorical level. Okay, so let's start and do something really simple here. Maybe I'm interested in having a look at my curtain wall panels, right? So I'm going to come up over here and I see my curtain panels, and you can see there's 786 of them. I'm going to come over here and maybe grab the sliding panels, all right? And it may be hard to see them from where I'm at, but I can double click on them. Oh, let's see, that's not a good one. Let's go come over here, probably because they're hidden. Let me just do an operable panel. This is what I'll do. There we go. All right, you can see over here, I have this operable panel over here, right? And if I come down over here and double click on this one, you could see we zoom in on that operable panel. Well, maybe what you need to do is come over here and select those 44 operable panels. Now, remember, when I expand all of these, I'm actually getting a listing of each of the instances. If I come down over here to the Revit filter tool, you can see that we confirmed the 44 operable panels over here, but I can't expand this list to show you the individual instances. So Revit is only good at showing you this at a categorical level. But in this case, I can get to the individual ones. And at this point, all I really need to do at this point is just change it out for another one. So maybe I want this operable panel that has a frit in it, right? And just like that, that was an easy thing to do. So again, expand, select, right? And then you can double click to zoom in or go to another view if it's not available in this view. Pretty simple operation from that standpoint. Okay, one of the things that I am guilty of doing all the time are putting elements on the incorrect work set. So rather than looking at this list from a category perspective, I can switch over and look at it from a work set perspective. And so what we end up doing is we sort this tree by work set. And the one that I'm interested in looking at is the user created work set. And when I expand that over here, these happen to be the work sets that are created in my project. Now, the view work sets over here and the project standards, those are kind of the Revit standard work sets, right? When you create views, they get assigned work sets. And of course, some of the project standard information gets project standard information. So why do I care about sorting by work set? Well, if I expand the plumbing fixtures list over here, you can see I have some casework and some walls on the plumbing fixture work set. And I know that those are not supposed to be on that work set. So I can easily come over here now and move those over to work set 1. And Explorer will do a quick refresh over here. And you can see now that they are part of work set 1. So it's a nice way to audit your work sets, from that perspective. Well, let's have a look at work set 1 over here and see if there are plumbing fixtures on that work set. And sure enough, these are supposed to also be on my plumbing fixtures work set. Or yes, exactly. And so I can come on over here and start selecting some of these items over here, and I can move these to the plumbing fixtures work set. Now, for those of you that have selected elements in mass before, you've looking to maybe change their properties or do a swap out of elements, you've probably run into a situation where properties are grayed out and you can't change it. And you're probably wondering, well, why can I not select all the plumbing fixtures and move them over to the plumbing fixtures work set? Well, when you expand all the information in Explorer, we don't show you every property that's associated with those elements. There's a lot of properties in the Revit model. So this requires me to do a little bit more detective work. Maybe I want to look at these 32 plumbing fixtures. I can isolate those elements if I want to, so there they are, right? So just using some basic functionality. But I need to know more information about these plumbing fixtures. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Query. And I absolutely love Query. It's one of my favorite features in Ideate Explorer. And the reason why is I can take this selection of elements and get more information about them. So for example, on the instance properties or each individual instance, I can get you information like, have they been flipped? Some of them have been flipped, some of them not. Are any of these elements pinned? None of them are pinned. Who last updated these elements, right? So these are some great bits of information, and who created them. So these are awesome, right? I can also say, hey, are any of these in a model group? Give me the model group name. And none of these are actually in model groups. So maybe some of these happen to be nested elements. And you can see right here, that is nested is a property. And sure enough, it shows that 31 of the 32 plumbing fixtures are not nested, but one of them is. Look what happens when I select these 31. When I select those 31, you can see that work set 1 is available to change. And so now I can move these over to the plumbing fixtures. And just like that, those are now part of the plumbing fixtures. And let me just go ahead and reset this view over here. And now I can come back to the entire project sort of by work set. And when I come back to work set 1, I should only have one plumbing fixture in here. Sure enough, I do. And it happens to be this kitchen sink double. Let's go and have a look at this and understand why. So there it is, it's grayed out. Now, if I hit escape over here, just take a quick look. When I select this countertop, there's the issue. It's a nested family. So the solution to this would be to edit this family, remove the sink, reload the countertop, and place the sink as an individual component rather than nesting it. So again, if you're looking for in-place families or any of that, Query will help you also find those in-place families as well. All right, so let's take a look and do some other things here. I'm going to switch back to category. And what I want to do is a weekly model audit. I want to look at the health of my project, and I want to look at some of the behaviors of my team. So I'm going to go to Ideate Audit. And what Ideate Audit allows me to do is to have a look at certain categories in this model to see if people are doing things incorrectly, like importing CAD files, or creating maybe too many groups or too many arrays. We want to have a look at these. And we're not saying that usage of any of these categories is bad, maybe the exception of CAD imports. We just want to look to see the element counts and see if they are putting any sort of restrictions on the model. And so when I come over to CAD imports, I have all 181 of these CAD imports listed over here. And so what I could do is I can come in over here and select this and double click on it. And I can say, okay, this happens to be a detail library in a detail view. It's probably acceptable, even though I still prefer to do all Revit. No big deal. But if I come over here and look at this one, we notice that this is actually hidden in a view. Would I like to temporarily show it? Sure, let's go ahead and do that. And when I go there, Revit's going to take me to another view. We're going to turn on the reveal hidden elements. And sure enough, this happens to be in a building code plan. This should not be here at all. So I'll go ahead and remove this. And just like that, that is taken care of. And then I can come back over here and turn off the reveal hidden elements. So if I come over here and look at some other CAD imports, we could see that I have like 8 instances of this makeup air unit. And if I double click on this over here, this happens to be a piece of mechanical equipment, but it was done in AutoCAD. And if I come over, let's say, to another one over here, let me just come over and select this one as an example and double click on it. We can see that they're all supposed to be in the same place, but there's 8 individual instances. I'm going to probably select all of these and wipe these out of the project. And since my consultant is still using AutoCAD, I'm probably going to go back and link them as a CAD file instead of importing them. So if they do move or shift over, they'll be coordinated on a per view basis. So that's a little bit about some of the Ideate Audit. And again, I'd like to spend a lot more time showing you all the ins and outs of Ideate Explorer, but one more thing I do want to show you is warnings. And so we have a warnings manager built into Ideate Explorer. And what's really nice about this, let me just come back to my 3D view over here, is that I can easily select the elements that are affected by warnings. And I can even expand the individual elements to have a look at them. You can see as I click over here, I can see these 2 elements. I can also select them and even do, let's say, a selection box around them so that I can have a little bit more of a detailed view. So now I can select each one of these and see what's going on. And I can get some basic information like who created and last updated them. But if I need to get some more detailed information, I can click on this little button over here and get a little bit more of a detailed view. And I can also get a more detailed view if I wanted to through, say, Query. I can select those here and query that information. So this is good. You can export this out to Excel if you wanted to, so you can do a review of it. So what else do I want to do here? Well, so I could select these elements if I need to and isolate them, right? So I can come over here and say, all right, I'm going to isolate these elements over here, and I'm going to fix these so that they're no longer overlapping. Okay. Now, for some people over here, you may say, okay, the elements that have duplicate mark values, these ones over here, that's a big deal to me. It's such a big deal because that could result in a doubling in my scheduling. I want to right click on this and say, I want to add more weight to this warning over here. And I'm going to set that to a medium ranking. And the reason why I'm interested in this is I could say, I'm going to take care of high ranked warnings first, then medium ranked warnings next. And if I have a lot of time and extra budget, I'll go ahead and look at the low ranked warnings, but I probably am not interested in doing that. So I'll come back to none over here. So this is a nice way to, rank these warnings. Now this first icon over here means I have high ranked warnings in my model. Once I have no high ranked warnings, this one goes away. I can also set a warnings threshold, meaning give me a warning when I have maybe more than one warning per megabyte of file. That's an example of what you can do. So you can actually come under the settings over here and set these thresholds. And your company can pre-configure the weights of all the warnings. We ship Explorer to include a warnings ranking file that includes over 900 warnings. So that's a lot of information. So the one I want to show you real quickly in terms of addressing, because some of these do require you to manually fix it. Like, to fix all the highlighted walls that overlap, you have to actually come in here and actually, manually fix these. You just have to do that, okay? But for this one over here, let me just do a refresh here real quick. For the 55 identical instances, I want to show you something that's kind of interesting. I'm just going to expand a few of these over here. And I want to point out the element ID number. You can see this has a lower number than this one. And this one has a lower number than this one. So what that means is that this element came before this one. Even though they're the same, they're identical instances in the same place, there just happens to be a difference in ID number. So one of the features we built in here, if you want to just remove the duplicate elements in one shot, you can right click on this and say, I want to keep the originals or keep the newer ones. And in this case, I want to keep the originals. And look what happens over here. We basically select all the newer ones. And with that said, we're going to get rid of 3 casework and 52 pieces of furniture. And look what happens to this icon over here when I delete these. So just like that, I've now taken care of that warning and I got rid of all those duplicate elements. Now I can focus and filter on medium ranked warnings and address those as well. So that's a pretty helpful thing. And once I start bringing my warnings down, then the second icon over here will go away. All right, so that's a little bit about ID Explorer. It's one of my favorite products because of what it can do. And I'm going to check here real quickly to see if there's any questions in the questions panel. And so far, we have a pretty quiet audience. And so no worries, you guys can ask questions at any time by filling out your question in the question and answer panel. All right, so the next product I want to talk about is IDH Style Manager. And what IDH Style Manager allows you to do is analyze your model for styles. So that would be like model objects, subcategories, line styles, fill patterns, etc. And what we're looking to do is find out if they're being used, and if so, where they're being used. This is really important as part of your model audits and cleanup. And this works in your projects and in your templates and in your families as well. So the first goal here is to do an analyze. I want to analyze, let's say, my object styles. And I want to look at all the subcategories to see if there's any usage of these styles. And you can see over here, there are uses, and here's where they're being used. And then if you're not supposed to be using this style, so you've loaded up a bunch of families, you realize, oh, they're using the wrong style, I need to be using this one. Well, we can analyze and then do what I call the merge and purge. That allows you to take this style and merge it with this one, and then we'll get rid of this one out of your model. And then for styles that have absolutely no usage, we can just say, okay, we're safe. We know they're not being used in the model because Style Manager reported 0 uses for all these subcategories. Let's just get them out of here. That's a safe way to do it. If you try to do it natively in Revit, it doesn't work out well because Revit doesn't tell you where these styles are being used. So let's actually have a look at this. And what I've done here is I've composed a video. And the reason being is demoing this live can take a little bit of time. So I figured I'd just create a video. All right, so again, it's under the IDH Software tab and it's Style Manager. And here are the current styles that we handle. So again, if you are just getting started with any products, check out our Getting Started guides, and we have them in this window over here. And here's our current listing of styles that we can analyze. So we'll start with object styles. When I click on the object styles, you can see a listing that allows us to kind of filter the list that's down below. And that includes imported styles or something that came from CAD files or DGNs or whatnot. And when we talk about object styles, we're really talking about the subcategories. And in this case, we're looking at the imported objects. So we can see a confirmation of the list over here. Now, again, Revit doesn't tell you on the right-hand side where they're being used. Style Manager will tell you where they exist. So let's have a look. I'm going to come over here and select at the very top level, this 2-door cabinet DWG. And then there happen to be 2 import instances, and you can click on those if you want to and show them. I'm going to select a bunch of them in mass and also analyze. So you can actually analyze multiples at once. So you can see there's a report of some that have no usage and some that do have some uses. I can also filter this list to show you ones that have only been analyzed and the ones that are not used. So I can be confident, or I can take confidence in knowing that these are not used in my project. So I'm going to kick them out of here and safely remove them. I'll go ahead and turn on the used, and these are the ones that are used. Now, if I come back to the object style subcategories, you can see how much cleaner the list is, and there's a match over there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 over here and I'm going to merge them. And I'm going to merge them with another style over here. In this case, I'll just merge them with the main DWG file. And so when I do that, we've reassigned those subcategories to that DWG. And once again, if I come back to the object styles and go to imported, you can see that now that's the only thing that exists, and it certainly is being used. All right, so I'll go ahead and uncheck imported styles, and now we're going to look at the rest of the categories that fall under object styles. So I'm going to focus on plumbing fixtures, and in this case, I'm going to select a bunch of them here, and I'm going to analyze them. All right, and by the way, I sped up this video a little bit. It does take a little bit of time to analyze because we're looking at everything. So as I mentioned before, here happen to be the families and groups that that the style called clearance exists in. But we're not going to use clearance. We want them to be part of this clearance over here called ADA clearance. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that style and merge them. So any families or groups or anything that use that style will now be reassigned to ADA. Now you notice over here that some of the groups could not be changed. That's a limitation in Revit. If you've gone into Revit and try to analyze or try to edit groups without actually going into an edit group mode, you're not allowed to do that. Okay, so you'll have to manually fix that. We have no access to fixing that. Now for line styles, line patterns, and fill patterns, you may notice there's some color coding over here. And that happens to be because they're duplicate items. So let's isolate those duplicates. And we randomly assign a color to them. But you see over here, it's a line weight of 1, the color is black. But as I click through this, they're all the same styles. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select all of these and do an analysis. And again, this has been sped up. It does take a little bit of time to do the analysis because we're literally looking everywhere in your model. And you can see the report back. There's a lot of uses of each one of these styles, which is kind of unfortunate because this model is a mess. So what I can do is I can pick one of these styles over here. So let's let that refresh there for a moment. And I'm going to pick this style over here called ANO text. And I may be interested in merging it with, say, thin lines. So once again, all of those elements that were used in that style are now assigned to thin lines. And I can do the same thing with the rest of them as well. When I look at line patterns and fill patterns, again, you can isolate the duplicates if you want to, and you can start cleaning up these styles. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of duplicates in this project. Now, when you do materials and material assets, when you do any sort of analysis and merging, all those material assets will be reassigned to the new ones. If you do filters in Revit, when you do a merge with another filter, any sort of view that was using an old filter will now be reassigned to the new filter. Any properties that you put in that filter, let's say you did a color override or a line override, those will still remain. We're just swapping one filter out for another. So that's basically how that works. Now for view templates, we don't even have to do an analysis. We could tell you that there's actually usage. And you notice over here, we have one called architectural elevation. And if I come over to Revit's view template manage dialog box, and I'm going to look for that same one called architectural elevation. And it happens to be right there. And Revit tells you it's being used, but it doesn't tell you where it's being used. We tell you where that view template is being used. And so that's the nice thing about that. So same thing, if I merge a view template, or if I merge a scope box, we're not merging the styles together. What we're just basically doing is we're doing a reassignment. So if you do a merge from one view template to another, the views that are getting the new view template will just be reassigned to that view template. If you merge scope boxes, any sort of level assignments or grid assignments or crop boundaries will just be reassigned to the new scope box. So that's a little bit about Style Manager. Great product to help you out. I will just give you a little bit of great information. We have a beta version right now of our latest version of Style Manager, and it has 5 more categories in here. So we're excited about the new and upcoming release down the road. All right, our next product is called Ideate Sticky. So this is a little different than BIMLink in that we can take our Excel files and Word and PDF files as they are rendered and just live link them into your models. So we're not taking live data and actually importing them into our projects. We're actually just taking the data from Word, Excel, and PDF and rendering them in your models. And the nice thing about doing this is that you don't need to make up simulated tables. Like I used to use key schedules to make fake data rows. There's no need to do that. You just do all the work in Word, Excel, and your PDF, and you can do a update and you can get the latest information. You can also do a live or an auto update. So when you close a Revit file, and let's say you come back to it later on, Sticky will check for updates. And if it finds an update, it will automatically update that information. So think of this as kind of like an XREF in a lot of ways. It's also compatible with BIM 360 via the Autodesk Desktop connector. So you could put these files up on BIM 360 in your projects and do live linking from there. So let's take a quick look at Sticky and how this product can help you out with your workflows. Okay, so I'm gonna come back, let me just close some of these inactive windows over here, and I'm gonna come over here to this Autobahn file. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just come over to the sheets and make a brand new sheet. And I'll just kind of start with this cover sheet over here, and it's a blank file or a blank sheet. And I'll go ahead and launch Sticky. All right, so when you launch Sticky for the first time, you have the ability to link in Excel files as schedules, or you can link in Word, PDF, and Excel files as images. So we do all the conversion for you. You don't have to take your Word files and export them as TIFFs and then bring them in as TIFF images. We do all of that for you. The advantages of using images over Excel schedules is that however they're rendered in these file formats, they'll come in exactly as is. There are a few small limitations when you bring in Excel as schedules. If you have some weird formatting or non-standard kind of content like pie charts and graphs, that stuff won't come through as a schedule, but it will come through as an image. So let's just start here with Excel as a schedule. I'm gonna actually just do one thing over here. I'm gonna copy a path so I can get to it quickly. But I'm gonna go to Create, and I'm just gonna go pick on a file. And by default, we go to your C drive to our samples to bring that content up. But I'm going to come over here and just paste the current link and go to a little bit of a different location. And so I'm going to bring in this Philips lighting spec over here. And when I bring up that Excel file, there happen to be many worksheet tabs inside of there. So I'm going to bring this Philips chloride in, and I'm going to use the print area that's set up in there. And I'll just keep the name as it is. And so when I do this, I think you'll like this here, but you can see over here we have an auto update feature. We handle absolute, relative, and if I had linked it from BIM 360, we would see a BIM 360 path as well. And you can get all the information about this, including what sheet it's on, what region, and so forth. And here's what it happens to look like when I close the file. And I'll just kind of move it up over here. So it brought in the images that were inside of this file. Everything looks good. And if I come over to my schedules, you can see that it shows up in my schedules. And when I go to it, there it is. Now, this data did not put itself in any of these families or anything. It's just rendered in the header of a schedule. And it's limited, in terms of its formatting, it's limited by Revit's limitations. So I can shade, I can create borders, I can reset things and change fonts as part of my text. But any sort of changes I want to do here, I really want to do it back at the Excel file. So just something to kind of keep in mind. So let me just come over here real quickly. And let me just open up that, that Philips lighting spec. And here happens to be this tab that I just brought in. So I'll just change this to red, and I'll just make this yellow, as a fill, I should say, and I'll just do that. So I'll go ahead and save this, and I'll close it. And when I come back to my Revit model, when I come back to Sticky, it immediately realizes that it's out of date. And so all I need to do is come to Update. And you can see now that that Sticky's been updated. And of course, if I come back to that sheet, you can see it's been updated on the sheet. So that's really helpful, really easy to do. Now let's go back to Sticky one more time, and let's have a look at Word, PDF, and Excel as images. And I'm going to also come back to that folder I was in earlier. And this time you can see I have other file formats. And so what I want to bring in is a specification document. And so when I do that, it says, okay, do you want to bring in all 7 pages, or do you want to bring in certain pages? So I can bring in pages 1, 3, 5, and 6 through 7, all right, at 300 DPI. And when I hit OK, what we're going to do in the background is we're going to actually do all the conversion for you into images. And just like that, you can see that they are. We can tell you about each one of these pages, what page it is on the Excel file, the DPI, what sheet it exists on. And so when I hit close, you can see they're all right here. And as I mentioned before, let me just kind of zoom in. The advantages is, like, for example, the watermark in the Word file, that's a very Word-specific format. If we try to bring that in as a schedule, it would omit that because that's not a recognized Revit element. But we don't care because we did the conversion to images, so we don't really necessarily care about the formatting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here and open up that specifications file, and here it is. And so in this example, what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'm going to change my watermark maybe to confidential as an example. And what's great is I can come in over here, let's say, and change part of my text, which Revit won't allow you to actually do. You can't change part of a word and change its colors, but we don't care. This is going to convert to an image. And in addition to that, I can come in here and do some silly things, like I can insert maybe a smart art, right? Which Revit would never recognize this. But again, because we're doing all the image conversion, we can do whatever we like, right? So I could say, hey, this is A2K, and this is, Ideate software, right? So again, just a chart, pretty simple to do. I'll change the scaling of it, and I'll go ahead and hit save and close this out. Okay, let me just, I guess I can close this at this point. Okay, this is what I wanted to do. All right, so now that that's done, take a look at this. I'm going to come back over here to Sticky now, and it immediately recognizes that it's out of date. And so I'll go ahead and update these. And again, we're going to do all the conversion for you, right? So we'll just go ahead and recreate those images real quickly for you and replace them in the same spot. And just like that, you could see that we were able to handle that. The printing quality and everything is quite nice as well. So Sticky's a great product to live link your Excel and Word and PDF files. And some people say, well, you can do PDFs already in Revit. The reality is we do a better job with the PDFs because you can place multiple PDFs all at once and also pick which pages you want to do all at once. Revit, you have to do them kind of page by page. So it's not as efficient as using a product like Sticky. All right, and then finally, I'm just gonna go through this slide right here. I'm not gonna go into a slide for each one of the applications, but Ideate apps, as they're called, is not all of our applications in one, but it's a particular product. And it has a multitude of these smaller applications that are designed to handle specific tasks. So we have a great renumbering program. Or if you can't find something in a view for some reason, you can use X-Ray to help you find it. We have a spell check program that allows you to spell check your entire project in one interface rather than sheet by sheet and view by view. And then we have some phenomenal view creation and sheet management tools. These take a little while to demo, so I don't have time to demo these today, but I can create hundreds of views named a certain way with my view template assignments and everything all ready to go. And then I can use a product like Sheet Manager to actually bulk place my views onto sheets. And then if I need help getting them in alignment, I can use the Align tool to align everything all in the same spot. So as I flip from sheet to sheet and from view to view, things will line up. But let's take a quick look here at a couple products, and then we'll go ahead and let you move on with your day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out some of these files over here. So bear with me for 1 second while I close them. I'm going to switch to a different file over here. And I'll close this one because this mechanical is linked into the architectural. So I'll open this one up, and I'll just go ahead and just detach this from Central real quick. So this will take just a moment. And I think I may have just opened up a file I just had open. So apologies there. Yep, this was not the one that I wanted to open. So let me close this out one more time. Wanted to open the hospital architectural file. So that's the one that I want. So let's go ahead and detach this, and then we'll show you a couple products here. Takes just a moment. All right, so here we have it. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I have a plan set up that's ready for renumbering. And my goal here is to renumber all of my rooms on this floor. And you can see I have a path drawn in here. And this path happens to be just a series of detail lines. And if I hover and tab, they happen to be a chain of lines. You can see the intersection here. You can see the little blue open circle, meaning they're connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to Ideate Software and I'm going to go to Renumber. And when I launch Renumber over here, we actually ship Renumber with a lot of pre-configured rules. Some of them are specific to how things are done in certain countries, and some are just very generic. As I mentioned before, you can customize these types of rules. So for example, if I was interested in editing my rooms, I can actually customize the rules where I can say, okay, what's the starting number for a room? And then I want to automatically increment the numbers as I go from room to room to room. I can absolutely customize these. And if you want to use other parameters in your project, so for example, if you wanted to put, let's say, the level name in the room, you can actually do that. We'll grab the level name and we'll concatenate it as part of the room name or room number, whatever it may be. So we can renumber pretty much anything in your Revit model. One of the questions I get from a lot of people is, can I do the numbering on my sheets? The answer is absolutely. But let's just take a look at this room one over here. This room one just requires you to manually type in what level you're on, although you can customize this so it automatically fills that in. And we have some info on our website on how to do that. And then I just want to start at room 1000. And I can either pick rooms individually. So I can come over here and just pick them individually, which, you know, for a small floor plan may not be that big of a deal. But when you zoom out and see all of these rooms, that becomes a big deal real quickly. So maybe this is not the most efficient way. I could use a crossing path, meaning if a line crosses through a room, so you could see, for example, this line right up here crosses through several rooms, they will renumber along that path. But I may want to renumber along a vertex, and the advantage of that is it allows me to renumber my rooms wherever it hits a vertex. So that allows me a lot of flexibility. And as I mentioned before, I renumbered these. I drew these lines ahead of time. But if I didn't draw these lines ahead of time, I could use this create new path method. And what that'll do here is allow me to draw the path, and then it'll renumber afterwards. But since I already have the path drawn, I'm going to uncheck that. So let's start at room 1000 and hit start numbering. And all I'm going to do is pick one of the lines on there, and we will calculate the rest for you. And you can see how quickly the old number and the new number shows up. And when I hit accept changes, and I will show you the results here right now, you can see all of these rooms are renumbered along that path. That's pretty fantastic. Now, I know for us here, at least in the US, and depending on the types of projects we're working on, our door and room numbers typically correspond. And if a door swings into a room, it should use that same number. And if there's only one door that swings into the room, we won't put a letter after it. However, if we do have doors, let's say multiple doors that go into a room, you may want to put a letter after it. So let's just take a look at that process. So what's brilliant about Renumber is I don't need to draw a path through my doors. We have rules that can allow you just to basically type in what letter you want to start with. Instead of a -a, I'll start with a lowercase a, and I have this auto number by view. And this particular rule, if I take a quick look at it, this particular rule grabs the room number and then puts an increment starting with A, and will increment A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because we're incrementing it by 1. And it changes or restarts the numbering on a per room basis. So when it gets to the next room, it restarts the increment. Okay, again, these are fully customizable. So what's great about this, as I mentioned before, is I don't have to draw a path through each door. That would be kind of pointless. I'm going to hit start numbering. And again, we can also change it and say, do I want to, use the other room as part of my numbering? It's really up to you. So you can actually change that if you want to. It's really up to you. Or you can even ignore the numbering of these. So there's a lot of great options. You can even store data in your doors if you want to. So Renumber will remember your choice over here. I'm going to hit accept changes. And now take a look at this. That matches that. This door matches the room. And then you can see over here 1061B, because it goes into this room over here. There's your A and there's your C as well. So we can really make your renumbering go really fast if you wanted to. All right, let me just show you one more product. Again, there's so many things I'd love to show you here, but in this case, we just don't have time. It usually takes probably about 90 minutes to do a demo like this. But let me just show you a really cool product, and this is called X-Ray. So X-Ray will help save you so much time trying to chase down a visibility issue. So one of the challenges that you'll run into with Revit is there will be a time where you're in a view and for some reason you cannot see or find certain elements. And as you know, you can hit the light bulb over here, but the light bulb unfortunately will only do so much. And I'm looking for a enlarged restroom call out. There's some sort of call out missing over here. So again, you could try to come in here and go to visibility graphics, right? I can come to visibility graphics to see if any of this information is visible, and all of it happens to be. I can look at work sets to see if they're visible, but at some point you may be banging your head against the wall. So let's have a quick look at X-Ray to see if X-Ray can help us out. So the idea behind X-Ray is we break up the interface by, are you looking for a 3D model element? In this case, no. Are you looking for an annotation element, or are you looking for a grid, level, or a view reference? Now, in this case, I'm actually looking for a view reference. So I'm going to pick from a list. And when I come over here, it's going to list all my views and grids and levels in this list. Doesn't matter if they're visible or not. And if you know some keywords like restroom, for example, you could try searching for that. So in this case over here, I see something called enlarged plan. I think that's the one that's missing. So take a look at this here. Before I hit next, I just want to show you the properties of this view. This view has certain properties like this discipline over here called architectural. I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to say find the element. And look what happens over here when I hit it. I'm going to hit find element, and you can see it selected something else. And X-Ray says the selected floor plan element is not visible in this floor plan because the discipline of that element is set to plumbing, but the first floor plan call out, that's this thing right here, is set to architectural. So what it recognizes is that the discipline for that one was set to something different. They need to align in order to display. So what's nice about this is X-Ray already selected the element for me. You can see down here, it's selected. So what I can do is while I have it selected is I can come in over here and change it to architectural or coordination. It doesn't matter. I'll just set it to coordination. And when I do that, the floor plan call out shows up. So that's pretty helpful. Let's see if this one over here. Here's another great example that I want to show you. I'm missing all sorts of things in this view. And if I hit the light bulb, I see some of the sinks show up, but I'm missing like some toilets over here. Take a look at how wild this is. I'm going to go to X-Ray. And now what I'm looking for is a 3D model element. And if I know what its element ID is, or if I had recently placed a toilet and it disappeared immediately, then that's considered a recently created element. But in this case, I want to search a small area in the target view. And then what I'm going to do here is do a crossing window. And I'm going to do a crossing window where I think this toilet should be. And just like that, in that small area, we look at a certain percentage above the upper clip plane and lower clip plane. And these are what we found over here. And so again, I can do a search over here, like type in the word toilet. And let's see if this is the one that's missing. I'm going to hit next. And now I'm going to hit find element. I hope this is the one. All right, here we go. This will be the last demo right here, but it's hidden for these 4 reasons. And I did the worst thing you could do. I hit it by work set. Okay, and it tells you right here, it's in a work set called plumbing, which is turned off. I'm going to go to show me. It's going to launch visibility graphics. I'm going to go to work set, and there's plumbing. I'll go ahead and say show. All right. Next, it's hidden by category, meaning I turned it off categorically in visibility graphics. I'll just have it fix it. And I'll just say fix only. Then now you notice those show up. Remember when I hit the light bulb, those turned on. Okay. Now it's also hidden by element, which is the right mouse click hide and view element. I'll go to fix and fix that. And then finally, the worst thing also is I use the view filter called toilets, which is hiding it. And so here we go. I'm going to go to the show me button. I'm going to come over to filters. There it is. And its visibility state is off. And when I hit OK, the toilets come back on. So if you've ever been going crazy trying to find those elements and you can't figure out why, definitely have a look at X-Ray. So again, I wish I had more time to show you some of our sheet and view creation tools. We have a lot of great website or information on our website. Let me just go ahead and just advance the slide deck over here. And let's see here. Does anybody have any questions before I pass it over to A2K for any final comments? It looks like it's been really quiet today on the chat side of things, but if you have any questions, feel free to type them in while A2K does some chatting over here. If you want to stay in touch, visit ideatesoftware.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn if you want to, and you can also email me here. And then finally, let's have you go ahead and visit A2K Technologies. And with that, Leticia, do you have anything you want to add to this webinar? I know we're at the bottom of the hour here.
Hey, Sasha, just want to thank you. That was a great presentation. I've been using the tools and they definitely help a lot with the Revit workflows.
Awesome. I'm glad that you're liking them. Yeah, and I'm sorry, this is a very fast presentation, but again, Leticia's been using them for a long time. We can really help you solve your data editing and data management challenges. And also, if you need to know more information, contact A2K via email. And that information is listed right there. And I hope you guys got some great information out of today's webinar. Leticia, any final thoughts?
I think we have some Q&A sessions. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think that's it. I've been using a lot, like especially BeamLink, which is a great tool to standardize like naming conventions and create objects. It's great. I do a lot of template creation, and that helps a lot. Also model auditings for clients, and they are great tools. I completely agree.
It's so powerful.
Yeah, they're very powerful. That's very true, and it's super quick and easy to use because it's just Excel, right?
That's right. And a lot of people have some level of Excel experience, whether it's just simple data, or data tasks, right? Fill across, fill down, copy, paste. But the fact that I could take a long list of text out to Excel and run it through like Google Translate and translate that text in Excel and then pull it back in to translate my project, that's so helpful. And so, yeah, we access so much model data. I like to say, however creative you want to be with Excel and BIMLink, the world is really your oyster at that point. So it really is. And once again, here's just some basic information if you want to stay in touch with us, but be sure to reach out to your account rep at A2K. They'll be more than happy to get you pricing information and links. And again, you can reach out to us as well.